Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast, where we talk about everything training, nutrition and lifestyle and depict the myths, avoid the niceties and get again to that raw, truthful knowledge about any given subject. Thank you once again for those who've supporting the podcast so far. We really appreciate the positive contribution. Keep up those likes, those positive feedback loops, and also any shares that we have as well, because if we can share this knowledge and get it out to people who are interested and have a passion for it, and we can impact the industry positively, then it's always a win. Now today, my guest is none other than Alister Cran. Alister Cran is a Bachelor of Physiotherapy and he's also a Bachelor of Exercise Science. He graduated with a double degree of Physiotherapy Exercise Science at Griffith University on the Gold Coast back in 2012. Shortly after, he moved to Sydney, where he's fortunate enough to get a job in a highly respected physiotherapy practice, catered to elite action sport teams around the world, some of which we get into within this podcast, which is quite interesting. And I must admit, I was quite fascinated to learn about this. Through this, he gained an enormous amount of experiences training high-profile athletes in very extreme and stressful situations. After his experience in Sydney, he moved back to the Gold Coast in 2015, where he opened up a smaller physiotherapy practice on the Isle of Capri, Physio on Capri, in October 2017. He teamed up with Paul and the Moving with Easy team to provide physiotherapy services out of EMF Performance Center Elite Military Fitness here in Robina, where I'm also a coach and where we shot this podcast. With all the facilities of EMF, including the altitude rooms at their disposal, he's very committed to providing the highest of quality of care that he can to his client. He's always enjoyed an active and a healthy lifestyle. The lifestyle sparked his interest in many sports, namely surfing, skating, and surf lifesaving. Through the years of enjoying recreational sports, he's become particularly keen on learning and about the understanding of the body and how it adapts to external stresses. Being able to empathize with clients and their unique injuries is a major part of his job, and it helps him steer treatments toward exercise modification rather than avoidance. He ensures that his clients get back to the sports that they love sooner rather than later, with a better understanding of how they prevent injury into the future. Now, in this conversation, we do delve into a lot of those topics. In the past, we also look at some prevention rather than cure, specifically, again, for general population, but more people who actually go to the gym, more strength-based athletes, resistance-trained athletes, and also touching back on his past with the extreme sports, because I think at the end of the day, there's a lot we can learn from the top profile athletes because they are in the extreme situations. And if we can look at the remedies that they can possibly benefit from, then it might give us a bit of insight to the smaller and the easier fixes that most of us are doing on a regular basis. So some of those are which we explore in this exercise. Some things you can apply straight away and they may apply to your own lifestyle. But either way, you're going to learn some valuable things that you can take into your training and into your lifestyle out of this one. So without further ado, please enjoy this latest podcast with Alister Cran. Alister, thank you for joining us on the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast. How's the day been so far?
It's been okay, just treating a couple of clients and now we've organised this to have a bit of a chat.
That's it, that's the way, man, that's the way, and we appreciate your time and sharing some of your knowledge.
Yeah.
So, as always, tell us who you are, what you do, how you got into it, give us a bit of a background.
Well, I'm Alister Cran. I graduated Physiotherapy at Griffith University at the end of 2012. Went down to Sydney for a couple of years because I got a pretty good opportunity there. The practice that I was working with supplied physios to most of the extreme sports events in Australia, so I got some pretty good opportunities going to extreme sports surfing events, Nacho Circus Live, the exhibition hockey matches USA versus Canada, and even some specialty events like Guns N' Roses and all that sort of stuff too.
That is quite unique.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I still get a couple of those gigs a year just because I've got a good relationship with them, but sure. I decided having a starting salary and living in Sydney is not conducive to growing your own business, so I moved back up here and started my own thing, firstly inside fitness on Capri, in Isle of Capri.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got offered this lease inside this EMF gym, and the EMF gym's a pretty good business, so
Yeah, good facilities.
yeah, it's great. You get everything you could ask for here.
Yeah.
And then
Spoiled for choice.
exactly, yeah, it's great, and we've got the capacity to expand into other ones if we want to as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I've just tried to niche myself towards surfers, surf lifesavers, and extreme sports athletes, but also the gym population too. Things I really enjoy because I'm an avid surfer myself and enjoy the gym. Used to do CrossFit, competed in the Opens a couple of times. But it's hard to keep on top of your body in CrossFit. So
Yeah, definitely. It's very demanding, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. And so here I am. That's about it, really. That's my story so far.
Sounds like there's a few, and I would like to dig into a few of those earlier experiences because it sounds like there'd be a lot of valuable knowledge in there, and I'm quite curious myself, quite honest, with what you've done. I think it's important that you mentioned, you said you want to stick to something that you enjoy, like you're an avid surfer, you obviously work on that clientele, and then obviously you've got your extreme sports, which I think we'll digress into in a minute because I think that is quite unique. I've not met many practitioners personally who work with such an extreme athlete because I can imagine you would see a lot and a variety of injuries which we can kind of cross over and look at more in the resistance training realm. But before we press on with that, there was an interview I did recently, as I've mentioned, with an osteopath, physio, etc., Nathan, and we talked about the common injuries that we see within the gym environment. What is your perspective on that, and what injuries do you see the most since you've been working in a facility like this? And this is obviously more of a commercial setting, so we're getting everything from more general population, functional athletes. We have got a few physique competitors, but there is more of a variety. What would your take on that be?
Well, I see, and everyone that works in a gym probably says the same, they see a lot of lower backs, necks and shoulders. Generally the body biomechanics from that repetitive, flexion-based lifestyle that we lead, whether it's sitting in a chair for long periods of time or hunching over and doing labour-intensive jobs, it's going to change your body mechanically somehow. And unfortunately, it's a lot of flexion-based stuff, which puts a lot of load on the front part of the shoulder joint. So I get a lot of people with biceps tendon problems from pressing forward and overhead, just because their shoulder mechanics aren't fantastic anymore. They're not sitting as well as they should be. And lower back disc type issues. They're sitting 8-9 hours a day at a desk, and then they go and they try and back squat 100 kilos for 8 reps or something, and it's just that progressive overload on that one particular structure over time, and then it breaks down. So that's probably the most common ones I see at the gym here. In terms of preventing it, that's why we offer that gap-free consultation to everyone in the gym, is to learn how to get that body mechanics sorted, or some management strategies to work around that, and then progressively strengthen up your body in the right position again. But definitely, I've been seeing a lot of biceps tendon issues lately. From the pressing forward, pressing over stuff, always lower backs, and always neck type issues too from the gym as well. Those would be the main ones, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. So sometimes, and I think this comes up a lot, it's not what clients are doing in the gym, it's what they're doing outside of the gym, which has a big crossover. What would you, in terms of the more instead of the diagnostics or what you would prescribe for someone, or how you diagnose what someone has, what are some of the most basic preventative things most people can do, especially because I think there's a lot of people out there with desk jobs who sit now with the laptop lifestyle. I know I'm guilty of it myself. What's some of the best quick fixes that you can do that maybe most people are overlooking to kind of remediate that, and then we'll dive into more of what you do in this room?
Sure. Well, with respect to flexion-based activity like desk jobs, the easiest thing you could do is go down to Officeworks and get a standing desk. That'll eliminate a lot of the problems straight away.
That's actually on my list. Like, do you recommend them?
They
seem like I even just stand there sometimes on the workbench and I'm just sort of trying to straddle down because it's
definitely
it's comfortable.
Sitting at the end of the day, it's not a natural sort of activity. As soon as you sit down, it posteriorly rotates your pelvis and it puts a lot of load on the discs in your back, especially the lower back. So just getting a standing desk at the very least is one of the best things you can do. But also a lumbar support's great too. Because of that flexion load based on the discs, if you just put a lumbar support in the back, it helps redistribute the load more evenly through the discs and the joints. And that can take a lot of load off the discs too.
Okay. Is that because it creates more of the natural thoracic?
Yeah. It just creates more of that because as soon as you posteriorly rotate, you put that flexion in the lower back, and it takes that lordosis away.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put that in through the back, it makes you just sit upright.
Same.
Yeah, and just
that posture and distributes the load evenly, and obviously takes hopefully a bit of pressure off.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so those are the two overarching ones. But also, if you're planning to get a standing desk, I usually suggest to my clients like the 80-20 rule, so 80% standing, 20% sitting.
Okay.
And if you're going from...
Like
yeah, definitely.
I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. And if you're going from, sitting all day every day to standing all day every day, obviously that's going to put load on different joints more than it used to.
Yeah.
So even though it's a more natural sort of position, you still got to get stability in your legs and the sort of footwear you're using and the sort of surface you're standing on looked at too, because it's ultimately going to put a lot of load on the knees and hips as well. So you just need to make sure you account for all that stuff too.
Especially if you are spending a lot of time in that environment or that realm there where you are at the desk, like you said, it's worth investing in a good desk, good footwear.
Yeah, it's worth it.
The surface areas and whatnot. So those little things. Well, that makes sense, and I think it's a good recommendation. It's one I've actually thought about myself, as I said, thought about the standing desk. I know it's getting quite popular, there's a few people doing it, but I don't know whether that some people just do it because it's a fashion thing rather than the functional. So it's good to know that there is a method to the madness scientifically.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I read it a couple of years ago. For every hour you sit for, you lose 7 minutes off your lifespan, as opposed to...
Really?
No, you lose 11 minutes off your lifespan.
Let's stand up then!
You lose 11 minutes of your lifespan, whereas if you smoke a cigarette, you only lose 7 minutes of your lifespan.
Right, so we should light a cigarette by this hour then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so you could smoke 8 cigarettes today, and if you're standing up all day, you'd be one step ahead of everyone sitting at a desk.
Okay.
I'm not sure how accurate that is.
Yeah, you'd have to check the science on that.
Yeah.
Where does that? What's the science behind it? Like, what's the theory?
Well, it's well known. Like, as soon as you sit down, you're not using muscle pumps in your legs to get that blood flow back to your heart. So there's a lot of blood pooling in your legs. Also, your lungs can't expand as well when you're sitting down, so you got that problem too. It's just a basic circulatory thing, I think.
There you go.
But just double check that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how accurate it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, even if that accuracy is off, I'd say the principle is probably accurate in terms that you're probably better to move. Again, if we go back and look at, not only physiologically or biomechanically what we were designed to do or how we did move, I think some of the answers to the future in the past and vice versa, but we weren't sat down all day. We were foraging, we were washing, we were cleaning, and then obviously we didn't have times of rest. And we see some of these systems implemented now, like the Japanese have got, they say, you should work for small bouts of time more intensely and have more frequent breaks. And I do agree with that. I guess it's good for people who fidget a lot like myself, because we're not able to sit down for long periods of time. So again, I think that's good that we can identify that, because perhaps I think that's the first maybe step. Everyone is different. Some people will be at a desk job, you've got that pressure from work sometimes, but even if you get up, do you think, would it help even just for 2 to 5 minutes, or even as little as 1 to 2 minutes, having that break? Do you think there would be, not even on that notion we just talked about, but from your experience, do you think there would be a benefit to that? So say someone who's working an actual desk job, they don't get up, they don't have clients like us, they're not moving around. Would you say there is a benefit of them in, apart from lunch and their breaks, getting up, whether it's once or twice an hour for a minute? What would your recommendation be on that?
I definitely think that doing something is better than doing nothing. But at the end of the day, this is something I tell my biggest return clients too, for people for like maintenance sort of treatments. They're the people that sit down all day, every day. Okay, because they're doing 8, 9 hours of sitting a day. Standing up for a minute or so is the least you can do.
Yeah.
But I personally don't think it's still enough. And doing a couple of minutes of mobility that I give them exercise-wise is probably not enough to maintain your body in good health mechanically, physiologically. So I suggest they come in once a month, once every couple of months, and have your body looked at again
and make sure it's all realigned.
I
guess prevention is better than cure.
Exactly. Much better than cure. And even just teach them how to mobilize what particularly is tight, what's not, strengthen up what's lacking compared to the other side.
For sure, and try and fix the problem before it eventuates.
Exactly, yeah. At the end of the day, something's better than nothing, but 9 hours of sitting's probably not as good for you as standing up for 8, 9 hours. So just get a standing desk probably.
For sure. I think that's good to know though as well. I think people who do stand, whether it's a physical job or they're just on their feet all day, it's interesting to see the disparity. I know that from my own experience, the first example you used about sitting down at a desk all day and then going to squat, I find that I perform better either when I train when I'm rested, obviously lying in a horizontal position, not vertical, not a vampire, not yet. But versus sitting down at a desk all day and then going in. Now there's obviously the stresses from having an all day of training, but I find it's very tight. Something I do with my clients is activation work. I don't know how you feel about this, and again, if you've got any recommendations, but doing dynamic movements or specific movements to try and isolate and trigger and warm up muscles, especially if someone has been in an office or a desk job, because I feel that the muscles, if so, would be even more, I guess not cold, but less responsive, and it could cause more of an injury. And I would actually like to second part of that question. In terms of warm-ups, because this is a broad topic, but what's, in your opinion, too much and not enough, and what would be a basic recommendation from your perspective as a physio for someone doing a strength-based session? How would you warm up? Let's say they're doing full body squat, bench, and dead. How would you facilitate a warm-up, and if so, a cool down?
Well, in terms of warm-up and cool down, I would definitely screen them and ask them what they do for a job, firstly and foremostly, and go over a warm-up that helps, like you suggested, tailored to strengthening up the things that they might have kind of switched off during the day, like those erector spinae muscles from hunching over and sitting all day every day, because as soon as you sit in a chair, all those erector spinae muscles kind of switch off. And in terms of what's too much, I don't know, I guess it's how long is this piece of string?
I know there's a lot of variability, and that's quite an open-ended question. But if you guess you can give us parameters or, again, basic guidelines, if you will. Because it is specific, I understand that. And I'm not setting you up to fail there with that question. But just based on your experience, I guess.
Sure. Well, I actually read an article recently that detailed whether it's good to do some sort of cardio or resistance type warm-up before you actually go and do resistance training. And it doesn't matter whether you do cardio or resistance training. If you do too much, you'll get a central fatigue factor that lasts throughout your whole training session. So just getting on the the rower or the walker and just walking for a while before your training session, in terms of getting your muscles to fully activate when you get into that strength session, it's going to really, really impact that from central fatigue. So
it's like those, I guess, basics.
So definitely, you definitely wouldn't want to do too much. Just some dynamic stretching is good. I like dynamic stretching, especially because it doesn't. I don't know. What is it that when it desensitizes the goal?
When you overstretch.
So
the stairs, actually, the stretch shortening cycle.
That's it. That one. I haven't looked that up in a while. So,
you're right, man.
So I couldn't tell you exactly how long or what exactly I do. It all depends specifically on the person I've got in the room.
For sure.
time. Yeah, sorry I can't be more specific with that.
No, this is good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's based on your experience.